Hey there, everyone. It's Peter Dinklage here. Wow, sitting in front of this camera, talking to you all like this. It's a bit strange, isn't it? I'm used to scripts, directors telling me where to stand, how to deliver a line. But today, it's just me. No filters, no takes. I wanted to share a story with you, something real from my life, not the glamour of Hollywood or the epic battles from Game of Thrones. No. This is about a small, frustrating moment that felt like nothing at the time, but ended up being the unexpected turning point in my journey. It's honest, reflective, and deeply human because that's what life is. A series of ordinary days that suddenly shift everything. So let's dive in, grab a drink, get comfortable. This might take a while, but I promise it's worth it. Let me start at the beginning, or at least what feels like the beginning for me. I was born in 1969 in Morristown, New Jersey, to a family that was as normal as they come. Oh, my dad, John, was an insurance salesman, always hustling, always trying to make ends meet for us. My mom, Diane, was a music teacher at an elementary school, filling our house with songs and piano notes. I have an older brother, Jonathan, who's a brilliant violinist. He's toured the world with his music, and I'm so proud of him. But maybe I came into the world with achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism. I'm 4 feet 5 inches tall, and from the moment I could walk, that defined how people saw me. Kids at school stared, whispered, pointed. The bullying was relentless. Name-calling, exclusion from gangs because I was too small. It hurt deeply. I'd come home some days, close my door, and just cry. But my parents never let me wallow. They treated me like any kid, pushed me to try everything. "You're Peter," they'd say. "That's all that matters." I found solace in stories. I'd put on little plays in our basement, dragging my friends into acting out scenes from movies I'd seen on TV like Star Wars or old classics. I remember one time I was about 8, and I played the Velveteen Rabbit in a school production. Standing on that stage, feeling the lights, hearing words, it was like magic. For those moments, I wasn't the short kid. I was the rabbit, loved into being regal. That spark never left me. It was my escape, my way to be bigger than my body. As I got older, though, the world got harsher. High school at Delbarton, an all-boys Catholic school, was a mix of discipline and discovery. I mumbled when I spoke, kept my head down. Too cold? I adopted this edgy look, a black velvet cape that belonged to some woman, paired with black tights and combat boots. Who would take me seriously as an actor? The roles for people like me were jokes, elves and Christmas specials, leprechauns and ads. I refused that. I wanted real stories, real depth. So I applied to Bennington College in Vermont. I'll never forget my first visit in 1987. It was a dark, rainy night, the kind where the water comes down in buckets, blurring everything. I was a prospective student. No, the rain made it hard to see, but I bumped into this freshman on the road near Booth's house. Let's call him Sherm. That's what I always have. We talked through the storm, and he became my closest friend. Years later, he introduced me to Erica, the woman who became my wife. That night, despite the weather, Bennington felt alive. Lights pulsed from the dorms. Music drifted out. People laughed. Coming from my all-boys school in Jersey, it was a revelation. Here, no one cared about my height or my tape. It was about ideas, art, creativity. I enrolled, studied drama, wrote plays, performed in everything I could. Bennington spoiled me. It showed me a world where I could burn brightly without apology. People say it's a small school, but the impact is huge. We can't help but shine. When I graduated in 1991, I was full of dreams. I wanted to start a theater company with classmates like Ian and Sherm. I pictured us producing raw, honest plays off Broadway. I dreamed of being in indie films, working with directors who saw beyond the surface. Stories I needed to tell, about outsiders, about resilience. It might take time, I thought, but it had happened. What I didn't want to think about was tomorrow. The practical stuff, bills, rent, survival. 1991 was a good year for indie cinema films like Slacker and My Own Private Idaho were breaking through. Rents in New York were affordable-ish. I assumed I could scrape by acting, writing, TV. No way. I had too much class, too much self-respect for that. Ha! Famous last words, but reality crashed in like a wave. I had no cash, no bank account, no credit card, just debt growing like a weed. I packed socks and a toothbrush into my backpack and headed to New York. Couch surfed at friends' places, one after another, until the rent-paying roommates hinted I should move on. I didn't want a day job. I'm an actor, I tell myself. A writer. a Bennington grad, but hunger doesn't negotiate. I dusted pianos at a Manhattan store for 5 months, wiping keys while customers played beautiful tunes. I'd stand there listening, thinking, this could be me on stage, but it wasn't. Then I worked for a Shakespeare scholar, pulling weeds, clearing bees' nests from his property. A whole year of that. Shakespeare, the man whose words I'd memorized at Bennington. Hamlet's to be or not to be, that soliloquy about indecision, fear of the unknown, it mirrored my life. I was on my knees in the dirt, swatting insects, questioning if I'd ever be an actor. It was frustrating, this endless grind. Auditions came and went, rejections piled up. Not the right fit, they'd say, but I knew it was my height. I felt like a punchline waiting to happen. I tried other things. Played in a punk band called Wizzy for a bit. Loud gigs in smoky bars, screaming lyrics about rebellion. It was fun, cathartic, but didn't pay. I went on unemployment once, but the guilt was overwhelming. You're better than this, I think. Eventually, I paid rent for a floor spot in a Lower East Side apartment. My roommate had a mental breakdown, vanished, later joined a cult. Sounds dramatic, like a bad script, but it was my reality, not romantic, just chaotic. I hung paintings at galleries, staring at abstract art that made me think I could create something better. But doubt whispered, could you really? After 2 years of this instability, I got the job that stuck. Data entry at professional examination services, application processing, typing endless forms, numbers blending into a haze. 6 years I stayed, from 23 to 29. Longer than Bennington. They loved me there. I was the funny guy, smoking on the loading dock with the mailroom crew, sharing hangover tales. We called each other Shorty. Hey, Shorty, how's it going? It started as a joke on me, but became affection. I'd call in sick Fridays after late nights out, nursing beers and dive bars, dreaming of stages. I hated that job with every fiber. The fluorescent lights, the monotonous click of keys, it sucked the life out of me, but I clung to it. Why? Security. It paid for my own place, an industrial loft in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, $400 a month. Illegal to live there. No heat, but hot water in the bathroom. My shower had actual earth in it, dirt accumulating, mushrooms sprouting. A friend once yelled, "It smells like summer camp in here." Across the street was a chemical factory for fire suppressants. I didn't fear fires. The spices from the factory up the street masked the fumes with cumin. I had a rat, so I adopted a cat named Brian. No relation to anyone. My grandma's pink pull-out couch stood on end so Brian could climb it and look out the window. The sill was too high for me. No heat, no girlfriend, no agent, just me, Brian, and isolation. My theater company dream with Ian died. We had no business savvy. Our space lacked Eden water. We reeked. Youth faded quick. You'll see. Ian fled to Seattle. I stayed stuck in that loft for 10 years. It was my cage. Comfortable misery. Change. What if I quit and failed harder? My parents had scrimped for my education, but post-grad, I was on my own. That hunger drove me, but also paralyzed me. Now, the small moment, the catalyst that changed it all. It was a mundane day in 1998, I believe. I was 29, sitting at my desk, fingers numb from typing. The office buzzed. Phones, chatter, the smell of stale coffee. I overheard 2 co-workers laughing. Not at me, but it felt personal. Maybe the hangover from the night before or the chill from my unheated loft lingering in my bones. The screen blurred. I stared at it, thinking of a play I'd written, gathering dust in a drawer. An audition call had come for Imperfect Love, a tiny theater production. Low pay, small role. I'd been ignoring it, safe in my routine, but something snapped. Frustration boiled over. This wasn't living, it was existing. I thought of Samuel Beckett, the Irish playwright I adored from college. His line from The Unnameable, I can't go on, I go on. He struggled for years, waiting for his voice, finding it in absurdity and persistence. I didn't. Oh, Shakespeare again. Richard III, the crooked king, deformed but cunning. History's Richard was short, vilified, but powerful. I reflected on Alexander Pope, the 18th century poet, only 4'6", hunchbacked, who wrote epics like Essay on You. Hope springs eternal in the human breast, he said. Despite mockery, he read at Toulouse. Lautrec, the artist, short from a genetic condition, faced ridicule but captured Paris's underbelly in masterpieces. If they turned pain into purpose, why couldn't I? Literature and history showed me greatness comes from the fringes, from struggle. The realization dawned. I was waiting for permission to try, to fail. The world said, "Stay put, Shorty, you're not ready." But Bennington taught me to burn. I decided the next acting job, no matter the pay, I'd commit fully. Be a working actor, for better or worse. I quit that afternoon, walked out, heart racing, no plan, no internet. It was early days. Oh, no cell, no job. Terrified, but alive. That theater gig led to 13 Moons, a film with the same writer. Then more roles, Living in Oblivion, earlier, but now Chain Reactions. The Station Agent in 2003 was the breakthrough. Playing Finbar, a train enthusiast seeking solitude but finding friends. It echoed my isolation. Critics noticed. Awards followed. Then Game of Thrones into Riddigan Lannister. Witty, scarred, resumed. Martin drew from history, like Warwick the Kingmaker or Richard III, short-statured schemers who shaped empires. Tyrion became my mirror, turning weakness to strength. Transformation wasn't linear. Rejections persisted. Doubts lingered. But that decision unlocked doors. I worked with Bennington, Friends, Sherman Productions, others in films. Married Erica, had kids. My daughter, son, life expanded. I became a voice for others, refusing stereotypes, proving depth. Reflecting now, those hard moments, rejections, the job, the loft were gifts. Like in Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus' trials forged his homecoming, or Abraham Lincoln's string of failures before leaving the nation. History and literature teach purpose hides in pain. We find meaning not in ease, but in rising from it. So here's my emotional takeaway. Life's hardest moments aren't curses. They're invitations to grow. That small frustration, that failure. Lean into it. It might be your turning point. Don't wait for permission. Fail. Try again. Fail better. As Beckett said, find your rhythm in the mess. And remember, meaning comes from connection, from kindness, from lighting up the darkness for others. You got this. Thank you for listening. Stay true. Stay human.